Hello and welcome to this small course. So in this small tutorial, I would like to show you a quick example of how you can build a React application with Fetch or Axios if you prefer. So it's a way how we can call an API, a remote API. So for instance, in our case, we will use Reddit. So Reddit JSON, and we can take a thread from it. So Reddit, obviously, they have a lot of different threads, and in our case, thread JSON, we will take, for instance, React. So ReactJS, and normally, so we'll show you Fetch as well. So Fetch is the native standard API from JavaScript, from the standard of JavaScript. It's available since ES6, I think. So in most of the browsers support now, Fetch. So Fetch is available since ES6, as you can see here. I will show you how to use a Fetch API. And it's really good. Otherwise, you have Axios. So Axios is an NPM library you have to install. I like how it works because it's simpler than Fetch, especially when you have to deal with a lot of different HTTP methods. So post, get, delete, put, and so on. You know, this is the way how we communicate with HTTP to an API when we want to do different actions. We have to use like delete to delete a resource, or post, or something else. In our case, it will be really simple because it will be only to fetch like some discussions from Reddit. So we will only use fetch, and this is why we have to use only get to retrieve something. And so when we only use get, fetch becomes really simple. But for more complex interactions with HTTP protocol, Axios is just nicer and simpler to use. And this is the Axios library, but we won't use it today. We can still, but let's see. Let's first focus with Fetch because I like to use obviously the native API already available instead of installing something new. If we have already something available by default, it's always better to use what's already available. And this is the case for Fetch. So Fetch provides, actually with JavaScript, is a way how you can manipulate the different part of a protocol and how you can retrieve some resources of a URL, and it works asynchronously across the network. So that's really handy. So you will use either async await, which is a syntactic sugar. So the syntactic sugar is this one. So actually in computer science, when you use syntactic sugar, sometimes it's done for you, and it will be easier for you to read or to just to use the function. So here they actually mention designed to make things easier to read or to express. So this is the case when you have async await, it's easier to read rather than then, because obviously when it's asynchronous, when you use a function in an asynchronous way, you have to use then, because it's a promise. So you have to use fetch, and then you do this, then you do this, and then you do that, because you wait for each step. And when you have a wait, you will wait for the function to finish before to call the next one. And this is how you will use fetch. So don't worry, it will be really easy. The first thing we will do is to get ReactJS, I think it's like this, the API resource layer. That's the page. So it's reddit.com/r for the threads. So with Reddit, it's actually called, I forgot the name. Well, it's like you have always a thread about a specific topic. So in our case, it will be ReactJS. So let's refresh. Let's refresh Reddit here, and here we will do .json. Beautiful. And so that will be our resource. So /r/reactjs ReactJS.json. So let's start our application. So let's go to our terminal. In my case, it's just a normal terminal. I will create our application. So you can do npm init react app, and then it will be Reddit, for instance. So you can Google it. What's npm init? Npm init is the same as npx create react app. However, npm init is available since npm version 6. So react app vs npx create react app. Let's have a look of the difference. You will see here. Let's have a look here. Npm init. Oh, it's not that one. Npm. Oh, I will close this one. Npm init. So you'll be able to see, probably here, difference npx. Oh yeah, that's the one. So npx create react app, and for us is npm init react app, which we did, and then the name of the app. It's actually the same, just the npx create react app is more popular, so usually you will see this one, and the other one, npm init, is a newer syntax. And well, I don't know if it will last for long, but since npm version 6, it's good to use npm init. It's just up to you. So for us, it's still loading. And once that's done, we will start building our amazing application. So this is exactly what it will be. That's the data. So we can use JSON format print. I think that's the name. Let's have a look. JSON format. JSON formatter print. What's the name? Oh, I think it's this one, JSON pretty print. And if we paste the content of this and we paste it there, let's see. Oh, sorry, that's the ad. Wow, that's definitely not good. So you have to click. Yeah, the ad is making me confused. Open, but no, it's here actually. JSON pretty print. And you see, this will be much easier for us to read, and so we know what we should take. So you have data, which is nested, and then children, and then we have to look for the title of every discussion. So title, do we have a link? Link, probably, if we go to HTTPS, URL overridden by best is probably not that one. Oh, no, that's images. That's the URLs of every of the images. Icon URL is not for us. What else? This one, you have URL there. Maybe that's the correct one. Let's see how many. Oh yeah, so it's just URL for the URL, because we will retrieve the URL, the title, and probably, do we have a description? Yeah, the description as well. Oh no, it's only of the thread apparently, the description, because we just have one description. We will see what else we will retrieve then. Let's see if it's finished. Yeah, it is. So the name of our React application is Reddit. So you can just go now to cd Reddit, and here we are. You see, that's already the files created by React app. So create React app. It did for us, and now we can open it with Visual Code, or I don't know if you have another code editor you prefer. Obviously, feel free to use another one. In my case, for this course, I will use VS Code, so Visual Studio Code. And here, what we will do first, we are going to create a new folder first in the src folder. So src folder stands for source. So source, and then you have components. and here we can create a new file, and the name will be reddit.jsx. Beautiful. So JSX again is a syntax of React. JSX React. So if you look here, here's the documentation, and if you are wondering what JSX stands for, it stands for JavaScript Syntax Extension. It's made especially for React, and it will make your life easier. So while JSX embraces some logic. Obviously, it's really similar to JavaScript, but it has some differences. For instance, class and class name. Normally in HTML, the way how you mention a class is CLASS, but in JSX is class name. Lower camel case. So lower camel case, it means you have first lower case and then it's uppercase for the N. And it will be the same for background color, background image. It will also be done in lower camel case. However, in CSS, it will be background dash and then image, or background dash color, and so on. So now let's go back to VS Code, and here we will create our first component. First, I will import React from React. Beautiful. And then here I will have a function which will be my component. It will be Reddit, and this will be a fat arrow function. So Reddit, and then I will export default that component. Beautiful, like this. And so here first I will have some states. So I will have post and then set post. This is where our Reddit post will be stored. So if we go back to Safari, here if we go to again to JSON pretty print, we can see we have a lot of different posts, and it will be stored there in posts. So here we will use state, and then it will be by default a empty array. So that one I have to import that one. So with VS Code we can easily import some functions and so on from the import we did here. So you can go to settings if you would like to see, and in the settings is JS. What's the name? JS for the import. JS check JS, and that one you have to tick that one to have the import done easier for you. So now we can continue, and we will have our return, because with React our component has to return something. So first we have parentheses, and so here in our app.js we can already import our Reddit component from, it will be from our component folder. So components / Reddit, and here we will just we will keep the div maybe, or maybe not, we don't even have to. We'll just do Reddit like this. Beautiful. And then let's go back to the other component, the Reddit component, and there we will have just a fragment. So fragment, in case you're wondering what is a fragment in React, it's when we have more than one main layer. Like if we have one field and another field on the same level, like here child A and child B, they're on the same level, so we need the fragment. And you can either use react.fragment, or you can use the shortcut, which is just the arrow sign, so like this, and it's the same. So this is why we use this. And then we are going to have like a h3, and here it will be post.name or I think it's dot title for us. If we check on Reddit here, it's title, isn't it? Yeah, it is title. So it will be like this. Obviously we have to use map as well, so we have to do post dot map, and so here from the map we use post first from there. By default it's an array, so this is why we have an array, because with map it works only with an array. And then we have post here, and then it will be we'll have the arrow sign, and then we have the return, so we use parentheses again here. So we have actually a bullet list or just a list, so we use UL. In HTML you can use the tag UL, and this is for having a list. And so we will have something like this, li, and that's one of the lists. And so we will map, actually it's like a loop, so we will have the post, it will be post. So first we need a key, because with React we have to mention a key. I will show it to you why. So let's get internet first, and React key for the first element of a loop. Otherwise React to render, it needs to know where's the key. I don't have internet at the moment, but basically it's because if you don't mention this, React doesn't know to render the element. When we have a loop, we always have to mention the key of every row. So you will learn this over time. As soon as I have internet, I will show it to you as well. And then so we have the key here, the name of the post, and perfect. And then I will double check here if we have ID, just to make sure we don't have ID post. So post title, we have the title, we already saw it. We should have an ID as well. No, we don't. But normally, well, let's keep like this for now. I will have a look later. And then that's it pretty much. So we have the post, we have to set our post, however, and at the moment this is not done. So how we can set this? Well, it's easy. We will do a use effect. So it will be like this, and here we will have our fetch feature to request a Reddit post. So first I will create a new function. It will be request, or maybe fetch posts, and then again it's a fat arrow function, and here it will be async. So async, and then I will have fetch. So first it will be const await fetch. I can again use then, but I want to use the syntactic sugar. So what we saw here, syntactic sugar, this one to make the readability of our code nicer, to improve the readability. So here it will have the URL. So again it's that one, so URL to Reddit. So I can even use a constant here. It will be Reddit URL, maybe ReactJS URL, or thread URL, perfect, like this. And so in quotes, and then here I will just do like this. That's it. And now here to be const posts, or maybe we will have raw results equals await fetch, perfect. And finally we'll do const JSON results equals await, and again it will be raw results.json, because we want the format to be JSON. Again, you can have text or you can have something else depending on what the result you want to have, but in our case it's JSON. So if you check on fetch API.js, you will see they have JSON. Where is it? JSON. There are different kind of formats you can retrieve text. So text, JSON, form data, bloat, and I have never used that one, and array buffer. Apparently. So anyway, let's go back to what we are doing, and now we will do return. Well, how it will do? So we'll use the state. So we'll just have, so we won't return anything. It will be set post. So that one, set post, and we'll have the JSON results here inside. Perfect. And now we can use fetch post inside of our use effect, because we have created a function here, because with use effect it cannot return anything like a promise or something else. So this is why use effect cannot have a await inside of it. So use effect with await, like you cannot do this await. So you have to create either an anonymous function or a function like fetch post for us, and so we can call that function inside without a await. So it will be fetch post, but we cannot do this and this. That wouldn't work. So for us it's just this, fetch post, and what else? And then we will have, we will need a empty array here, because we don't want to render to fetch the post for every time our component is rendering. Otherwise React will render, will call fetch post every time the component is rendering, and this is not good for us, because it will just call the React JSON all the time, and it's not good for performance. So this that's it actually for now. This one we can remove. We can add a link here. It's href, and then we have post.url like this, and then we are going to add the link exactly like that. Now if we have to use also some strings, for instance we need to have like the domain name. With React we can use backtick, and then it will be https something here, and then backtick, and then it will be the variable here. So it will be a little bit, also it will be like this, and then see you have the variable and the backtick, and so the variable will be read like dynamically by JavaScript. Anyways, in our case it's not, we don't need this, so we can just keep the URL like this. And again, if you want to use double quotes like how it is normally for URL, then you will also need to have backtick there. It will be then like that, and like this, and like this, exactly like this. Oh, and the backtick, yes, like to be like that. It's not really beautiful, but it will be something like this. And for us we don't, so it's just curly brackets and then the name of the variable, so post.url. So now it's time to test what we have done. Let's open our terminal and let's try our application. So let's do npm start. Beautiful, it's now starting. So I think we have a little issue. Let's have a look. Yes, there's nothing rendered. So why is that? Well, let's first have a h1, a heading, and let's do React, probably Reddit ReactJS. The name, yeah, let's do like ReactJS. That's the thread. And let's see if we see that heading. No, we don't. So probably our issue, if we look in our log, let's see, what does it say? It says that use effect cannot return anything. So we do apparently return something in use effect. Oh, indeed. You see there, we forgot to use the curly brackets. And in JavaScript, if you don't use curly brackets, when you are using a arrow function, it will return the value directly by default. So when you have a arrow function like this one, arrow function, and you just have one expression, it will return directly this by default. If you don't want that behavior, you need to have curly brackets like this. Otherwise, if you don't have curly bracket in this case with one expression, it's like you are doing this. And we don't. So we can now save this, and you see now I don't have any warning. Let's refresh. Oh, I can see the heading, and now it disappears because I have undefined post map. Oh, the map is not defined. Let's see why is that. So I have fetch post, JSON result set, so post should be there, but apparently it cannot retrieve anything. Let's do a console log here, console log, and we will do JSON result. Oh, JSON results, and let's have a look if we see something. Now, do I see something? Oh yeah, that's the results. Beautiful. So this is the data we are going to retrieve. You can see I have data, and then it will be data children. Where is the title? Data children. Data children. And then it's data again. And finally, we have the details we need. So I will already do this. So the first thing is I will already remove the console log. We will probably not need it anymore. And then here I will do data.children. And then here it will be interesting because I will use a map again. So a loop, and here to be object, so obj, and then arrow obj.data again, since when we were having our results. So let's go back to our application. Oh, I have an error, but let's see from where it is. So data, oh, I need another parenthesis, and now let's save it. And oh, you see now I have the results. We didn't have the result because first of all we didn't use the nested data. So I will again show it to you by doing console log JSON results. And the second is because we need to map again and to loop, because we have to loop all the objects of the children. So we have like the data children, and then we have all the different objects, and we have to loop it to get the data. So let's have a look here. If we go to JSON pretty print here, and we look there, you see we have the children, and then we have all the different posts, and that's the data. And so this is why we need to have the map here, and then we get again the data from there. So as you can see, data, children, and then data. And so we assign the object data from there. So imagine we have data children, which is here, and then we loop it, and we have data, 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 and so on. And this is what we do there. And we set this for the post, and then here we just output everything. So we just show post ID, post URL, and post title. Let's have a look if the URL is working. So for doing so, let's go back to our application. Let's click on one URL and let's see if it's correct or not. Oh yeah, it is. You see, it's the same post. So now what we can do for improving our application, our really small application rendering some threads from Reddit, is just to have a look for different details we might use. So for instance, we have what we want to use. Title we did, and then we could use author as well. So let's do that. So maybe here I will do, that's the post title, and then here I can do from, and here to be post dot author. So let's save this and let's have a look how it looks like. And you see now I have the name of the author always. We can even do it like italic, like this. Yeah, beautiful, you see. And that's it actually for today. So we have seen how we can just render some data from a website. In this case it was Reddit with the JSON results, and then we have used fetch. And again, I wanted also to show it to you how you can do it with Axios. So let's do npm install Axios, and so you will see with Axios it's a little bit different. We will have axios.get here, and then it will be axios.get, and this one we won't need that one, but we will need data. So here it will be like data. Obviously in my case I will remove the console log, but it will be JSON results dot data, because with Axios, so if we look at the documentation here, Axios npm, we can see it will always give the data in a data object. So the response here to be response of data, right? Do I have a better example or not? Apparently not, but you will see. So that's the one. I can now, it's installed. I can, if we go to package.json, you will see Axios is installed. And now, so still in our fetch post function, which we will use in the use effect hook of React. So there I will, in fetch post, I will import Axios. So we can do add import from Axios. So now the import is here, and then we can just do results here like this, and then results. What I can even do is I can destructure the object. I can do data, and I can do an alias with a colon, and it will be results. And so here to be results, and I can remove the data because I destructure it already here with the curly brackets. And now let's refresh. So let's go back to our application. Oh, I have to restart the server. So let's do npm start. So npm start, just if you are wondering, it uses, if you go to package.json, you have scripts, and npm start does React script start. And soon it should be done. So let's wait. Oh, now it's running. If we look, yes, our application is running at the moment. And in the meantime, I can go back to reddit.jsx, and here I can just have a look how I can improve better. Well, I'm not sure, but you know, you always have different ways to improve differently. You could have also a footer component where you can add it in the components folder. So you could have done footer.jsx as well, And in the footer component, I will have const footer equals, and then that our function, and here it will be just return. And what we will return, well, not much, we'll just do like, it will be p and then p tag, and then it will be done by myself, so p Henry. Beautiful. And then I will export the component, so it will be default export footer, export default, sorry, so export default footer. And finally here is because I didn't import React, and indeed the fragment is like a shortcut from React, so I have to import React. And then now I can import that component in our app.js like this. Awesome. And now normally our server is running, and you see it's running, and in this case it uses Axios. So as you could see, we use Axios here, and as you can see the syntax, it's a little bit different. So well done, now it's running beautifully well, and you have done an amazing job. So just one more thing, especially if you are new with JavaScript, or if you still don't know this concept, when you are using arrow function like what we are doing here, you see we have actually an arrow function here. If you have only one argument, you can omit the parentheses, so you can do just like this, and you might, or you will probably see some code with only one argument with the arrow function without parentheses, and this is absolutely normal and correct, although it's always a good habit to have parentheses. It's just easier to read and more consistent, because when you don't have any arguments, or when you have more than one argument, you need parentheses. So for instance, I will write now a arrow function like arrow function, and here I have one argument, argument 1, and then it will return argument 1. That's it, it only returns the argument. So because there's only one argument, I can write it like this. However, if there's no arguments, I always need parentheses, and if there is more than one argument, like argument 1 and then argument 2, then I also need parentheses. But if there's just one, again, I don't need parentheses. This is why here, technically, I could have done like this and also there, and actually is what I did initially without parentheses. So I just wanted to share this with you in case you might be confused.